Emily Carter ran through the hospital hallway, her heart beating hard. At 11:47 p.m., she had received one short message. Your father may not survive the night. She reached room 312 and stopped. The door was locked. Through the small glass window, she saw her mother, Diane, and her older brother, Mark, standing beside her father's bed. Emily knocked. Open the door. Mark looked at her, but did not move. She knocked harder. Finally, he opened the door only a few inches. Go home, Emily, he said. I need to see Dad. Dad doesn't want to see you. Emily stared at him. She knew it was a lie. 3 days earlier, her father had called her in secret. His voice had been weak and afraid. Emily, he had whispered, if they keep you away from me, go to the basement. Find the blue shoebox. Before she could ask why, the call had suddenly ended. Now Emily looked past Mark into the room. Her father moved his head. Then she heard his weak voice. Emily, her blood turned cold. Dad! She pushed toward the door, but Mark quickly blocked her. You need to leave. He called my name. Let me in. Diane turned away from the bed. Her face showed no emotion. Call security, she said. Minutes later, 2 guards pulled Emily away while she begged to see her father. At 2:06 a.m., Robert Carter died. Emily never got to say goodbye. The next morning, the family lawyer gave her another shock. Her father had changed his will only hours before his death. Mark received the house, the company, and almost everything. Emily received nothing. At the funeral, her father's nurse, Sarah, quietly touched Emily's hand. She slipped a small, old key into her palm. Your father knew they would stop you, Sarah whispered. That night, Emily used the key to enter the basement. She found the shelf. She found the dust. But the blue shoebox was gone. Emily froze in the dark basement. The footsteps above her became louder. Someone was inside the house. She quickly turned off her phone light and moved behind an old wooden cabinet. A few seconds later, the basement door slowly opened. Mark walked down the stairs. Emily held her breath. Her brother did not look sad. He looked angry. He went straight to the empty shelf where the blue shoebox had been. Where is it? He whispered. Emily's heart began to beat faster. Mark pulled open drawers and threw old boxes on the floor. Then he took out his phone and called someone. The box is gone, he said. She may have found it. He became silent for a moment. No, Emily knows nothing yet. Emily covered her mouth with one hand. Mark was looking for the same shoebox. But why was he so afraid of it? After a few minutes, Mark went back upstairs. Emily waited until she heard the front door close. Then she came out of hiding. She searched every corner of the basement. Under her father's old workbench, she noticed one loose wooden board. She pulled it away. Behind it was a small envelope with her name on it. Inside, she found only 3 words. Ask Uncle James. Emily stared at the note. She had not heard that name since she was a child. Her mother always said Uncle James had left the family after stealing money from the company. No one was allowed to talk about him. Emily went home and searched his name online. What she found made her sit back in shock. James Carter had never disappeared. He had been sent to prison 17 years earlier, and the person who had given the strongest evidence against him was Emily's father. Then Emily noticed something else. James had been released 6 months ago. Her phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. She answered. For several seconds, no one spoke. Emily did not sleep that night. The stranger's words kept repeating in her mind. Stop looking for the shoebox. By morning, she had made a decision. She was going to find Uncle James. The address she found led her to a small repair shop outside the city. When Emily entered, an older man stood behind the counter. He looked at her once and froze. You have Robert's eyes, he said. Emily's heart jumped. Are you James Carter? The man slowly locked the front door. You should not be here. Emily placed her father's note on the counter. James read the 3 words. Ask Uncle James. His face became pale. Did you find the blue box? He asked. No. Someone took it. James stepped away. Then your brother is already afraid. Emily demanded the truth. For 17 years, Her family had said James stole money from the company, but James told a different story. He had discovered that Diane and Mark were secretly moving company money into private accounts. When James tried to expose them, they blamed him. Emily's father knew the truth, but Diane threatened to destroy the family and take Emily away forever. So Robert stayed silent. He gave evidence against his own brother. James went to prison. The shoebox contains the original bank papers. James said, "Your father kept everything." Emily felt sick. "Where is it now?" James opened a drawer and gave her a small metal tag. A storage unit number was written on it. "Your father moved the box before he died." That evening, Emily reached an old storage building. Unit 47 opened with the key Sarah had given her. Inside, on a table, sat a blue shoebox. Emily slowly lifted the lid. Bank papers, photos, letters, and a small voice recorder. Suddenly, the metal door slammed shut behind her. Emily ran toward it. Locked. Then she smelled something. Smoke. It was coming under the door. Someone had set the building on fire. Smoke filled the storage unit fast. Emily covered her mouth with her sleeve and kicked the metal door. "Help!" No one answered. The flames were getting closer. Then she noticed a small window near the ceiling. Emily grabbed a chair, climbed onto it, and hit the glass with a metal box. The window broke. She pushed the blue shoebox outside first. Then she climbed through. Seconds later, flames covered Unit 47. Someone had tried to destroy the evidence. And her. Emily took the shoebox to a small motel. She locked the door and closed every curtain. Then she picked up the voice recorder. Her hands shook as she pressed play. Her father's voice filled the room. "Emily, if you are hearing this, they kept you away from me." Tears filled her eyes. Robert explained everything. For years, Diane and Mark had stolen money from the family company. When Robert tried to stop them, Mark threatened him. But the biggest secret came next. "Mark does not own the company," Robert said. Emily stopped breathing. 3 months earlier, Robert had secretly signed control of the company over to Emily. The papers inside the shoebox proved it. The will Mark showed everyone meant nothing. Robert had also made 3 copies of the evidence. One went to Sarah. One went to James. The third had been sent to someone Robert did not name. Emily finally understood. The shoebox was not just proof. It was a trap. Her father knew Mark would try to steal everything. Suddenly, Emily's phone lit up. A message from an unknown number appeared. "You found the box. Good. Now ask who signed your father's final medical papers." Emily read it twice. Then another message arrived. It contained a photo. Her father was lying unconscious in his hospital bed. Beside him stood Mark. And in Mark's hand was a pen. Emily looked closer at the time printed on the photo. 2:14 a.m. Her father had died at 2:06. Emily stared at the time on the photo. 2:14 a.m. Her father had been dead for 8 minutes. So who had signed the final papers? The next morning, Emily met Sarah in a quiet cafe. When Sarah saw the photo, her face changed. "I knew something was wrong," she whispered. Sarah explained that Robert had lost consciousness before midnight. He could not speak, read, or hold a pen. Yet Mark claimed Robert signed a new will at 1:30 a.m. "That is impossible," Sarah said. Emily finally had enough proof, but she needed Mark to speak. So she sent him a message. "I found the shoebox. I want to make a deal." Mark replied within 1 minute. They met that evening inside the empty family office. Emily placed the blue shoebox on the table. Mark smiled. "You should have stayed away." "I only want what Dad wanted me to have," Emily said calmly. Mark laughed. Dad was too weak to know what he wanted. Emily said nothing. Mark stepped closer. "You think one old box can change a will?" "You mean the will Dad signed after he lost consciousness?" Mark's smile disappeared. For 1 second, the room became silent. Then he made a mistake. "Mom said no one would question the time." Emily's heart jumped. She kept her face calm. Mark continued. "We kept you outside that room for a reason. Dad would have told you everything." Inside Emily's coat, her phone recorded every word. Then Mark suddenly smiled again. "You still lose," he said. "Why?" "Because Mom sold the company this morning." Emily slowly closed the shoebox. Mark expected fear. Instead, she smiled. "I know." His face changed. Emily stood and walked toward the door. Behind her, Mark shouted, "What did you do?" She stopped. "Dad transferred the company 3 months ago." Mark went silent. Emily opened the door. 2 people were waiting outside. One was Sarah. The other was the man who had secretly bought the company. Mark stared at the man standing outside the office. His face turned white. The man was Daniel Reed, the lawyer who had helped Robert transfer the company to Emily 3 months earlier. "The sale is not legal," Daniel said calmly. Mark stepped back. "You can't prove anything." Emily placed a blue shoebox on the table. Dad already did. The next morning, everyone met in the family lawyer's office. Diane arrived smiling. She believed the company had been sold and the money was safe. Then Emily entered. Sarah came with her. Uncle James followed. Daniel placed the real company papers on the table. Robert had legally transferred control to Emily long before his death. Then Sarah showed the hospital records. Robert had been unconscious before the new will was signed. Finally, Emily played Mark's recording. Mom said no one would question the time. Diane's smile disappeared. Mark stood up. "That proves nothing." Emily opened the shoebox. Inside were the old bank records, showing that Diane and Mark had stolen money for years. There were also copies of letters proving they had blamed Uncle James. The room became silent. The company sale was canceled. The false will was reported. The old fraud case was reopened. Within weeks, Mark lost his position, and every account connected to the company was frozen. Diane lost the house she had tried to take. Uncle James finally cleared his name. Emily did not celebrate. One evening, she returned to the basement alone. At the bottom of the shoebox, she found one final envelope. Her name was written on it. Inside was a letter from her father. "I should have protected you sooner. This time, I made sure the truth would." Emily closed her eyes. Her family had stolen her final goodbye. They had locked her outside her father's door. But in the end, the small blue shoebox they feared most had opened every secret they tried to bury. Emily placed it back on the shelf. Then she walked upstairs and never looked back.